Aloha, everyone. This is Dewi Maile Lim with New Earth Luminary, and I am joined by a beautiful sister who lives here on island with me. Her name is Lei Mohr. Hi, Lei. How are you today?
Hi, I'm wonderful. Thank you for having me. It's an honor.
Yay, I'm so happy to chat with you. So, Lei, I'm celebrating you. You just really reached a milestone in your professional and author career. Your book, There Was No Fear, which we're going to talk about today, reached international bestseller. Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, that must feel so good.
It does.
Yeah, and well done on that. So your book is called There Was No Fear: The Transformational Power of Near Death and Shared Death Experiences. And I want to dive into these topics with you today for sure. First, I would love to just hear how you describe your work in the world, what you're up to, and just share a little bit about yourself.
Okay, what I have done throughout my life, and this is kind of a timeline thing, I didn't realize I was doing it for most of my life, is I guide people to work through their traumas to be able to get to their best life, their dream life, and live the life they came here to live. And so I do that just by it's like an inborn coaching ability. I ask a lot of questions, and I don't consider myself a coach. I consider myself to be a guide. And so people who have had any sort of life-changing trauma, and that can be anything from a new widow who's the passing of her husband just destroyed her. It could be somebody who is working a job which is paying the bills, but it is not fulfilling, which is just as traumatizing as the woman who lost her husband. So it can be all kinds of traumas. And I just help them work through that to get to where they need to be so they can be fulfilled and live the life they're meant to be living.
That's gorgeous. So I love that you refer to yourself as a guide. I resonate with that title as well. I've also been playing with the word way shower lately, and I really resonate with that as I believe that what you're doing is way showing to me with your work. And I love that there's a lot of applications, but that the piece about resolving and healing and integrating the lessons or the up leveling that can come from a compassionate approach to trauma work is really the crux of what I believe we all need to be doing personally in order to bridge the gap between where we are now and like our full potential, both individually and collectively as humanity. Would you agree that that's like the crux of what we need to do in order to really, yeah.
Yeah, it is. And I consider myself to be a light that shines so that they can see where they are and they can choose their path forward. So it's a kind of like a way shower, but what the world really needs right now is we're going through so much change and so much evolution and transformation is we need people like us who can help show other people or help them find their way through all of this to what's going to be beyond.
Beautiful, beautiful. I love that, to what's going to be beyond. And you've had experiences beyond the veil, so to speak, given your multiple near death experiences, and also something that I'd never heard of before meeting you, which is shared death experience. And as much as you can in a nutshell, because I know there were multiple for you, um, share what that was like for you, perhaps maybe your first one, and the ones after, how they may have varied from that. But it just, I would imagine you go into depth in the book and about it, but I would love to just hear like how your experience, as much as you'd like to share right now.
Okay. First of all, a near-death experience is where the person is actually the one who physically dies and goes to the other side, but doesn't stay there, experiences it, and every experience is different, but then comes back. And it's always transformational, because when they go to the other side, they learn so much. The first thing being that this life as we know it is not concrete. That, and this is the main lesson that I think every one of us gets, is that there is no death. And if there is no death and there's no need to fear death, then there's also no need to fear life. And we are opened up to be able to live life to the fullest after that, because we don't fear death anymore. The shared death experience is where two people, one person is the one who's actually crossing over, and one person is the person who is sharing that with them. And so you go, and it can be someone who's right next to you. It can be someone who's 3,500 miles away. It can be somebody you're close to, or maybe not really so close to, but somebody you know. It can be all sorts of things. But that's where the person who is sharing it shares the experience, but doesn't go to the other side and comes back with the experience and whatever they learned from that experience. So that's the difference. The first one I had was when I was 21, and it was after the birth of my second son. And I went, and all the details are in the book. I saw the very dark light instead of the light. A lot of people see a very bright light. I saw dark. There was no light at all. But then I was also given the choice. I was asked, do you want to come now? And I thought about it for a second, but I had two very young children at the time. And I was like, I can't do that. I need to go back and raise those boys. And so I came back, but I knew that I had made that choice, that I was here with a purpose and for a reason, and that I didn't have to fear death and I didn't have to fear life. And so I became very empowered in my life, which of course, when you become empowered and you weren't feeling so empowered before, it changes your whole life. And the relationship that I had at that time, of course, fell apart, and the boys and I moved on without that person. And then the second, well, actually the third near-death experience was where I got really, really, really sick. And I went somewhere else, and they told me that I had done what I came here to do. And this is okay for a while. And then I thought, wait, if I did what I came here to do, why am I still here? And that's where I started. That was the real beginning of my deep search into what is the meaning of life? Why am I here? And what is the meaning of death? And from there, I really started becoming who I am today. And then we'll jump a little bit further ahead now, and we'll go to the shared death experience, which was with my mother. And it has to be understood, she was in prison for the murder of my sister-in-law. So I had no contact with her at all for years. And then I shared this experience with her very, very unexpectedly. And it was the work up to it is actually much more important than the shared death experience itself, because the trauma that I'd had as a child, yes, at her hand, it really held back me in my life. And I knew I had to do something about that. So I went through the process to figure out how to change that, and to be able to see her as making the choice to do, and me for that matter too, we both made the choice to be in this experience, doing what we did, experiencing what we did, so that I could have the foundation to be who I am now, and that she loved me enough to come here and do that to me so that I could have that foundation. And therein lies the crux of the whole thing, is that we choose how we see our experiences and how they reflect in our lives. And from that, if we figure out how to choose those experiences in a way that's going to be more life affirming, we can make our lives so much better.
Wow, Lei, there's a lot of depth in what you shared, and you did really amazing kind of weaving several of your experiences and your chosen really actions and shifts that you made after each of them. And then even with the shared death experience with your mother, of the work that led up to it and the frame of reference that you were able to hold, and the perspective you were able to hold about your divine appointment in this life, and the way that you danced together, you and your mother. And I'm curious, first of all, like, who would you say that this book is the best fit for? Like, who would you love to reach the most with this book?
I wrote it specifically, and my publisher had a little trouble with this actually, but I wrote it for younger adults, you know, maybe 35, 20 to 35, something like that, who are very busy, who are very used to getting information at the touch of a button, and who like things short, sweet, and to the point. And so it's a very short book, but it's also a very in-depth book. It doesn't have a lot of flowery language. It's very simply written. It's very easy to digest. And it's made to be exactly that way, so that people can easily access the information in it, the tools in it, and they can figure out how that is best going to work in their lives.
Beautiful. And how do you weave in this piece about the focus of your experience with, them kind of internalizing it for themselves and taking action? Like, do you have exercises, or how is the book kind of organized?
Well, I usually go through the events, but it's all written much like a story, which is going to flow more better. It's going to flow better for most people as a story than if I had this, do this, do this, do this, because most of us don't really resonate with textbooks very much, but we do resonate with story. So I give the story first, and then through the story, you can see the tools, anyone can see the tools that I gained and the tools that I used to be able to do this. There's no exercises, because in stories there are no exercises, but it does give you, oh, look, oh, this, oh, hey, look, I can do that. I can see that in myself. You know, that's how it's meant to be. And that's how humans have been since the beginning of humans. We always learn through story. And so that's how it's written, and that's how it's presented.
So beautiful. I love that. There's some kind of magic, like practical magic, that can come through storytelling and the sharing of parables and our own experience. And that is the opportunity that stories provide, right? Especially ones written in a way to be of service, or shared in a way to be of service to others, and activate something in the reader where they, like you said, can reflect on it and see themselves in the storyline without having to be like told or like spoon fed the information, right?
Right.
I love it. And so would you say then that the lessons and the gains from your NDEs are the teachings then that you're sharing through the story? Is what's the correlation there?
It would be the teachings that one would get through the story. Very much like if you think about how indigenous cultures passed along information, they did it through story. And it was understood because when you hear something from a textbook, it goes into one part of your brain. When you hear something from in a story, it goes into a completely different creative part of your brain where your brain is like able to move that and use it and say, ah, okay, yeah, I get that. And it's not necessarily that you say, aha, that's I see, but the information goes in there and it allows your subconscious to be able to create with it.
So beautiful. So the little that I've looked into near-death experiences and interviews that have been done with folks who have gone through the experience, one of the things that I found fascinating was this piece about integrating that the information that you're receiving and that paradigm shift into your life, into like the physicality of returning and being, I'm curious, like the shifts that you made. You mentioned a major one at the onset of your first experience where you were in a relationship and you left with your children, and it became very clear that that situation was no longer serving you. So how has the integration process been like for you, and what could you say about that piece? I'm curious.
I think for everybody who has one of these, there is some sort of a transformation that happens in them. These are not random things.
No.
They actually happen to us. Maybe we chose them before, maybe, I don't know. But when they do happen to us, almost invariably, people have a transformation. My first one was, the empowerment, and this is not working for me or my children, and I'm going to leave. The second one was corporate America is no longer for me, and I'm going to leave. Now, it usually comes with some big changes, some transformational changes in whatever life the person is living. Loss of a relationship or a job, career, whatever. These are very, very common in it. And the last one was a complete upheaval of who I was. The last near-death experience is the complete upheaval of who I thought I was into the creation of who I really am as a butterfly comes out of the cocoon and becomes a butterfly. And the shared death experience is usually very much, it's very similar in that the transformation is not necessarily the same, but for me, it became, how does one re-see a situation that one had as a perception to be something that is life affirming? And, so that's kind of key to a lot of these. How do I, if someone maybe had a shared death experience where there were a couple and one of them passed on and went to the other side, and it may have left the one that's still here going, okay, now what do I do? But having that experience of a shared death experience, it's like, well, I know they're still here. I know they're still with me and supporting me. I can get through this, which is a little easier than, what the society teaches us is, you're gone, you're going to miss them, it's going to be very traumatizing for you. Because of what I saw in my last shared death experience, I can now see that someday in the future, it's not here yet, and forgive me for this, I've been through the trauma of grief. I know how it can be. I lost a sister and it was devastating to me. But I can also see how in the future, a passing is going to be celebrated as moving beyond where you are at now into something else, into a world or a situation, I don't even know what to call it, into the great beyond that is filled with love and joy and peace and safety and non-judgment, and it's beautiful. And who wouldn't want to be there? So when you graduate from humanity into that, it can be celebrated as the celebration that it could be.
I love that. Yes. Yes, for sure. That love and the unconditional and divine eternal innocence, that place, I feel like I've touched into it here and there, and recently I've been experiencing a lot more of it in my own heart. And yeah, so as you speak about it, I can actually feel it in my body, and it's profound, you know. And for you, with the title of the book, There Was No Fear, share, you know, share about that, the what's behind that title, and how did you come to the name of the book?
In each and every one of the events, there simply was no fear. They were all very peaceful, like I said, very, I felt completely supported, loved, safe, blissful. And the title of it, I got to tell you, the way that I actually wrote the book, I did not write the book. They came to me at 3 o'clock in the morning, as they usually do, and they said, "You're going to write a book." And I said, "I am." I didn't know that. And they said, "Yes, you're going to write it, and you're going to get up right now, and you're going to go and you're going to write the outline to it." And I said, "Can it wait?" "No, you're going to do it now." Okay, I did. And at first I was like, okay, now I have the outline, what's going on here? And then they said, oh, and by the way, and this is sometime later, they said, the title of the book is going to be There Was No Fear, because there was no fear and there should be no fear. Okay. And I stuck with it because it fit so well. I was like, this is perfect. So when people are reading the book, they're reading what was brought through me. I consider myself to be a conduit. Some people call it channel. I don't think it's a channel. I call myself a conduit. And it's what came through that. And I know that it wasn't necessarily me writing, because after I wrote it, I'd say, you know, I should have put this in there. And I go back and look at it, and there it is. It's already there.
Oh,
And I'm
wow.
like, oh, wow.
Wow. That's profound, Lei. That's so cool. I had no idea that this is how the book came through. And well done for being open and being a willing conduit, and just to be in that state of trust, you know, to be able to allow yourself to be the way that this transmission, if you will, was brought into the world. And I just find it so inspiring to be able to, how would I describe it? It's like, it is really about the perspective and the choice that we have in any given moment to take any of our life experience, all of our life experience, and to liberate ourselves, or be willing to allow the surrender of like what we may have made of it or made it mean, or, you know, we're told that like this is what that meant, you know, and just really to free ourselves to find the gift, the true, like the gift with the capital G, of all of our experiences, which you so beautifully have wrapped up into a bow with the shared death experience. And all of it, I believe, was leading you up to where you are now, and even that recalibration you went through with your whole identity. And that takes a lot of courage, you know, to be able to, and maybe that's, you know, what's on the other side of fear, is this trust that, you know, there is a reason why we go through what we go through. And, you know, if we have the facilities and the faculties of choice, like, why not frame it in a way that's going to ultimately serve us and empower us and be a gift to others who can receive our story and you know, receive their own up vibration or experience of it. You know, like, why not go for the frame that is the highest possible timeline and expression, right? And I just love that what I'm receiving the most from what you've shared is that, you know, that you have been proactive, like a conscious creator within your life. And what a beautiful way that you know, you've been given choice, even in those moments where you were on the other side, you were given choice, it sounds like, right? And yeah, I would love to start to kind of wrap this up and have you share, you know, anything else you want to say about that piece, or, you know, what your highest level vision is for this book, and then how we can find it and find you online.
Okay. I think it pretty much wraps up with a lyric from a song. If we believe in forever, then life is just a one-night stand. Don't take ourselves so seriously. The things that we've been told in society we need to have, do we really? Is that what life is really all about? And so the book is on Amazon right now, and it's under the title, under my name. You can find it however. I believe there is a link especially to it, but you know, anyone can find it. If you want to get a hold of me, there's a couple of different ways. I have a website. It's called Handle the Shift. So it's handletheshift.com. You can also get a hold of me through Facebook under my name. And there's LinkedIn. I'm under my name also. So there's a lot of different ways you can get a hold of me. If I can help you see through something, I'm more than willing to do so. Please let me know.
Beautiful, Lei. So beautiful to connect. I can't wait to read the book. I feel super inspired and recognize now that I did have myself a shared death experience with my father's passing. And so to be able to learn about that there's actually like a way to think about it that has been documented, and that people, you know, I can speak to it now, feels really empowering for me. And I'm so excited since we live here on the island together, I'm excited for our next interaction in the physical as well. And I will put all the links to everything in the comments of this video. Thanks so much. Aloha.
Thank you for having me.
You're so welcome.